Let me tell you a story about my friend Sarah. Sarah is a smart, successful woman who has always been good with money. She has a stable job, a nice apartment, and a healthy savings account. But recently, Sarah found herself in a bit of a financial bind. She had been out shopping with her friends and saw a pair of shoes that she absolutely had to have. They were expensive, but she rationalized that she had been working hard and deserved a treat. So she bought the shoes and put them on her credit card. Now fast forward a few weeks, Sarah's credit card bill arrives and she sees that the shoes cost more than she thought. She also realizes that she doesn't really need the shoes and that she could have used that money for something more important, like paying off her student loans or saving for a down payment on a house. But at this point it's too late. She's already bought the shoes and she's stuck with the bill. So what happened here? Why did Sarah, who is usually so good with money, make a decision that she now regrets? This is where behavioral economics comes in. According to behavioral economics, people are not always rational decision makers. We are influenced by our emotions, our biases, and the heuristics or mental shortcuts that we use to make decisions more efficiently. In Sarah's case, she was influenced by the availability heuristic, which is when we base our decisions on the information that is most readily available to us, rather than seeking out all relevant information. Sarah saw the shoes and was influenced by the fact that they were right in front of her, rather than considering all of the other things she could do with that money. Sarah was also influenced by her emotions. She was feeling happy and excited after shopping with her friends, and the shoes were a way to prolong that positive emotion. But now, she's feeling regret and guilt for making a decision that wasn't in her best interests. So, how can we use behavioral economics to make better decisions and avoid situations like Sarah's? One way is to be aware of our biases and heuristics and to try to overcome them. For example, if we know that we are prone to the availability heuristic, we can make an effort to seek out all relevant information before making a decision. Another way is to use pre-commitment devices, which are tools that help us commit to a certain course of action in advance. For example, Sarah could have set a budget for herself before going shopping and only brought enough cash to cover that budget. This way, she wouldn't have been able to buy the shoes, even if she saw them and wanted them in the moment. Finally, we can use social norms to our advantage. We are heavily influenced by the behavior of those around us, so if we surround ourselves with people who are making responsible financial decisions, we're more likely to do the same. Today in this video, we will see how cognitive science can help us understand our own learning process and improve our ability to progress in different areas. First, it is important to understand that our brain is malleable and capable of changing and adapting according to our experiences and learning. This is called neuroplasticity. This ability of our brain to change and adapt is the basis of our ability to learn new skills and progress. However, our brain also has limits in terms of attention capacity and working memory. That's why it's important to understand how our memory works and how we can optimize our learning by using effective strategies. One of the most important strategies is deliberate practice. Deliberate practice involves focusing on a specific skill and practicing it repeatedly and purposefully, receiving regular feedback to improve performance. This strategy has been shown to be very effective in progressing in many areas. Another important strategy is feedback. Feedback is information we receive about our performance that helps us understand what we are doing well and what we need to improve. Feedback can come from ourselves, through self-evaluation, or from external sources, such as a mentor or coach. It is important to understand that feedback is not always positive. In fact, negative feedback can be very useful in helping us identify our weaknesses and work on them. However, it is important that feedback is constructive and gives us concrete ways to improve. It is also important to understand that our mindset can have a significant impact on our ability to learn and progress. People with a fixed mindset believe that their skills are innate and cannot be changed, which can prevent them from taking risks and progressing. On the other hand, people with a growth mindset believe that their skills can be developed and improved through effort and perseverance. Cognitive science can help us understand our own learning process and improve our ability to progress in different areas. By using strategies such as deliberate practice, constructive feedback, and adopting a growth mindset, we can optimize our learning and achieve our goals. The power of framing. Carl was working at a non-profit organization that was trying to encourage people to donate to their cause. They had a lot of success with their fundraising efforts, but they noticed that there was one particular group of donors who were consistently giving less than they thought they could afford. They decided to conduct an experiment to see if they could increase the donations from this group. They split the group into two, and they sent each group a different fundraising appeal. The first group received a standard appeal that highlighted the impact of their donation and the importance of the cause. The second group received a slightly different appeal that framed their donation as a way to join a community of like-minded individuals who are committed to making a difference. The results were striking. The second group, who received the appeal that emphasized the community aspect of their donation, gave significantly more than the first group. In fact, their average donation was more than twice as large as the first group's. So, what happened here? In this case, the way that the donation was framed had a big impact on people's behavior. By emphasizing the community aspect of the donation, they were able to tap into people's desire to belong and to be part of something larger than themselves. This, in turn, led them to be more generous with their donations. The power of defaults. Kat was working at a company that was trying to increase participation in their 401k retirement savings plan. They had a lot of employees who were eligible to participate, but many of them weren't enrolling in the plan. They decided to conduct an experiment to see if they could increase participation by changing the default option for enrollment. Up until this point, employees had to actively choose to enroll in the plan. They changed the default option so that employees were automatically enrolled in the plan unless they actively chose to opt out. The results were dramatic. Participation in the plan increased by more than 50% within the first year, and perhaps even more importantly, the employees who were automatically enrolled in the plan were saving more money, on average, than the employees who had actively chosen to enroll. In this case, the default option had a big impact on people's behavior. By making enrollment in the plan the default option, they were able to overcome people's inertia and procrastination when it came to saving for retirement. This, in turn, led to more people saving more money for their future. The power of anchoring? Patrick was shopping for a new car and they were trying to negotiate the best possible price. They had done their research and knew what the fair market value of the car was, but the salesperson was trying to sell it to them for a much higher price. The salesperson used a common tactic called anchoring. They started by showing to Patrick a more expensive car, and then they showed them the car they were interested in. By doing this, they were able to create a mental anchor in my friend's mind that made the car they were interested in seem like a better deal, even though it was still more expensive than it should have been. Patrick realized what was happening and was able to counter the anchor by bringing up the fair market value of the car. They were able to negotiate a better price, but it took some effort to overcome the initial anchor that the salesperson had set. The principle of anchoring had a big impact on Patrick's behavior. By showing them a more expensive car first, the salesperson was able to create a mental anchor that made the car they were interested in seem like a better deal. This, in turn, led Patrick to be willing to pay more for the car than they should have. The peak end. Paul had been planning a big vacation for months. He had saved up money, taken time off work, and was excited to explore a new part of the world. He had planned out every detail of the trip, from the flights and accommodations to the activities and excursions. The first few days of the trip were amazing. Paul visited beautiful beaches, tried new foods, and met interesting people. He felt relaxed and happy and was having the time of his life. But then, things started to go wrong. Paul got food poisoning and spent a day in bed feeling miserable. Then, he missed his flight to the next destination and had to spend a lot of money to book a new one. To make matters worse, the weather took a turn for the worse, and it rained for the next 3 days straight. Paul was feeling pretty disappointed and frustrated at this point. He had been looking forward to this trip for so long, and it seemed like everything was going wrong. But then, something interesting happened. On the last day of the trip, Paul went on an excursion that turned out to be one of the best experiences of his life. He went on a hike through a beautiful forest, and at the end of the hike, he reached a stunning waterfall. He swam in the pool at the bottom of the waterfall and felt a sense of peace and joy that he hadn't felt in a long time. When Paul looked back on the trip as a whole, he realized that the peak end experience had a big impact on his memories and perceptions of the trip. Even though there had been some negative experiences in the middle of the trip, the amazing experience at the waterfall had overshadowed them in his memory. He remembered the trip as being mostly positive, and he felt grateful and happy when he thought about it. Paul also realized that the peak end experience had influenced his decision to go on the excursion in the first place. Even though he had been feeling disappointed and frustrated with the trip up until that point, he had decided to go on the excursion because he knew it would be a memorable experience. He had wanted to end the trip on a high note, and the excursion had provided that for him. So, what is the peak end experience? And why does it matter? The peak end experience is a psychological phenomenon that describes how our memories and perceptions of events are disproportionately influenced by the most intense moments, the peaks, and the final moments, the ends. This means that even if an event has some negative aspects, we are more likely to remember it as being positive if it has a strong peak and a positive end. Paul's peak-end experience greatly influenced his memories of the trip. Despite some negative moments, the amazing waterfall experience overshadowed them. This influenced his decision to go on the excursion and made him feel grateful and happy when he thought about the trip as a whole. Peak-end experience is a powerful psychological phenomenon that can impact our memories and perceptions of events. By understanding how it works, we can design experiences that create strong peaks and positive ends, and that help people remember and perceive events in a more positive light. Social norms can have a powerful influence on our behavior, as we often feel pressure to conform to the norms of the groups we belong to. This pressure can come from both internal and external sources. For example, we might feel internal pressure to conform to social norms because we want to be accepted and liked by our peers, or we might feel external pressure from others to conform to social norms through things like social disapproval or punishment. In the context of behavioral economics, social norms can be used to influence people's behavior in positive ways. For example, if we want to encourage people to save more money, we could use social norms to create a culture of saving within a particular group or community. This could involve things like sharing stories of successful savers, creating a sense of community around saving, and providing positive reinforcement for saving behavior. Another example of using social norms to influence behavior is in the realm of public health. For example, if we want to encourage people to get vaccinated, we could use social norms to create a culture of vaccination within a particular community. This could involve things like sharing stories of people who have been vaccinated, creating a sense of community around vaccination, and providing positive reinforcement for vaccination behavior. It's worth noting that social norms can also have negative effects on behavior. For example, if the social norm within a particular group is to engage in risky or unhealthy behavior, this can create pressure for individuals within the group to conform to this norm, even if it goes against their own personal values or beliefs. Here's another story. A few years ago, I was living in a small apartment complex with a group of friends. One of our neighbors was a woman named Maria, who was in her late 60s and lived alone. Maria was a sweet woman, but she was also very private and didn't socialize much with the other residents in the complex. One day, Maria had a fall in her apartment and was unable to get up. She lay on the floor for hours, unable to reach her phone or call for help. Eventually, one of her neighbors heard her cries for help and called an ambulance. After Maria was taken to the hospital, the other residents in the complex started talking about what had happened. We all felt terrible that Maria had been lying on the floor for so long, and we realized that we didn't know much about her or her situation. We decided that we wanted to do something to help her and make sure that she was okay. So we started a neighborhood watch program where we all agreed to check in on Maria and the other elderly residents in the complex on a regular basis. We also started having regular potluck dinners and other social events where we could all get to know each other better and build a sense of community. Over time, we noticed that Maria started coming out of her apartment more and participating in the social events. She seemed happier and more engaged, and she even started inviting us over for dinner occasionally. We also noticed that the other elderly residents in the complex seemed to be doing better too. They were more active and engaged, and they seemed to be enjoying the social connections that they were making with the rest of us. So, what happened here? In this case, the social norm within the apartment complex shifted from one of isolation and privacy to one of community and connection. By creating a culture of caring and concern for our neighbors, we were able to use social norms to influence our behavior in a positive way. We all felt more connected and supported, and we were able to help each other in times of need. In conclusion, behavioral economics shows us that people are not always rational decision makers, and that our emotions, biases, and heuristics can influence our decisions in predictable ways. By being aware of these factors and using tools like pre-commitment devices and social norms, we can make more informed and effective decisions. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, leave a comment below. See you next time.